know what else I'm thinking of too? Because yesterday was Martin Luther King Day. And I'm just thinking about that as I'm singing the lyrics of this song. And I'm thinking of, you know, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? They say it's just a part of it. We got to fulfill the book. And yesterday I was having a moment where, prior to me like having some time designated to honor Martin Luther King's legacy, I listened to few of his speeches. Of course, I listened to the "I Have a Dream" speech, but I also listened to um, I saw the top of the mountain, or I went to the top of the mountain. Let me make sure I say it correctly. And I have to listen to them again, um, just to really digest the message. I've been to the top. I've been to the mountaintop, which was his last speech. And then I also listened to, there was another speech. I forget the name of it. But, I was thinking about it because prior to me listening to Martin Luther King's speeches, I was kind of like doing a deep dive into Henry Ford and like the Ford family legacy, like the dynasty of the Fords. And I know, for those who might not know, or people who do know, I know people often talk about Henry Ford because he alone like revolutionized the automobile industry by creating a vehicle for the masses, and just being a brilliant engineer, and then starting this company and building it to what Ford is today. And this was in the early 1900s. And this was like a family business, right? And then you had his son Edsel. I hope I said his name right. Who was the president, and then his son Henry Ford II, who ran the company. Oftentimes you hear about I don't know. Oftentimes, to me, I've heard a lot about Henry Ford, but I hadn't really heard about um, what's been keeping the family name running for so long. And I was like, well, okay, well, who was running it after him? Because unfortunately his son passed before him. Before, yeah, his son did pass before him. And he was in his 80s at this point. So, they had his grandson take on the company. And then, from there, it had been in the family. And there's parts of people of the family who are still in the business, but I don't believe that there's a Ford that's a president now. But I'm bringing this up to say, while I was researching their family dynasty, I was just thinking, like, wow, even though, like, don't get me wrong, like, Henry Ford definitely, like, did something truly amazing and, you know, shifted society, and he got it up out the mud, literally, because he was born a farmer boy, and he wasn't born into a rich family. He created a rich family. And I was just thinking, like, wow, how amazing it would be if we had more Black stories like this. And I know, like, we shouldn't make everything about race, but I mean, we will, because as humans, we do, especially there's nothing more American than racism. And, I was just thinking about, like, and I was also thinking about the Madam C.J. Walker legacy, because I often wonder, I'm like, okay, well, where's our legacy now? And Madam C.J. Walker's legacy is still thriving. Someone that is a part of the family is still a part of that company, and the company is still making products. So, if y'all want to support that, go for it. You know, buy your hair products from Madam CJ Walker. And mind you, I'm not being paid for this. It's just I respect, you know, what that legacy is. Um, but I often say, like, there's not enough Black stories like this, because I was watching these videos on YouTube and just seeing all um, these people who started these companies from humble beginnings, and I'm just like, it's just so tiring as Black people that our fight has to be like just for respect because we're Black. You know what I mean? And like, yes, there are people who are business owners and have built legacies, especially during those times. And honestly, segregation helped Black owned businesses thrive because those were the only options. At the time, the only places where we could shop and feel respected was with amongst our own people in our own communities. And the fight was, there was such a fight for it, in the end of segregation, but that aided to the disintegration of Black entrepreneurship. And I get what that fight was for. I understand, and we should fight for respect. And you know, in certain spaces, we should fight for a seat at the table. Granted, I'm more of a person that would rather just build my own table, but there are certain circumstances where that fight is necessary to take a seat at the table and demand respect while you're there. But man, I was just thinking about it, like, wow, these men had the freedom to be innovative, whereas Black folks, we're literally just fighting for respect and our humanity. We're just fighting to exist, you know? Like, we're fighting. And the transition from that was like really deep diving into the story of the Ford legacy. And then, because I was like, okay, I'm studying this for a reason, which is personal. People might know, I don't know. But then I was like, okay, I'm not going, you know, not let it be Martin Luther King Day and not, have a moment to discuss his legacy. But I was just really thinking, like, man, I wish we had, as people, my own circumstances, a whole nother thing. But just like, damn, I don't know. I just feel like I'm in a matrix within a matrix. Because it's already a challenge as Black people. Like, the fight that civil rights stood for was for Black people to just be seen and treated as humans. You know, at some point in time in history, it was legal to be racist and harmful. And that's what Dr. King fought for, for the fair treatment. And just like the vile things that they had to go through. Just to like say, like, I'm a man, I'm a woman, treat me with respect, you know, because of our race. And it's like, damn, if we didn't have to worry about that, and we could literally just be innovative and just be geniuses and be brilliant at what we're good at, like, we shouldn't have had a need for Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and, just all those prolific leaders needing to fight just for like basic human rights, like civil rights, as Michael Chase said in his special, civil rights, just to be civil, you know? And I'm just like, wow. I mean, and granted, we have had brilliant black inventors um, through the years. Well, let me just make sure I get this right. Um, and I should know. I should know. But I mean, me not knowing proves my point. Who are these white people? No disrespect. I know this was a black man. Okay. Garrett Morgan. And okay, so when I was doing this whole like deep dive studying, or just like learning about more in depth on Henry Ford's story and how he was creating these automobiles. At first, he was really into just like creating, um, he was really into like race cars. Um, and then it turned into him creating just like regular automobiles for the everyday person. And this was during a time where, there weren't huge like traffic lights and him innovating that industry and creating an industry essentially, um, created a problem which a black man, Garrett Morgan Sr. I've heard of him and I should remember his name, so now I will remember his name, Garrett Morgan. And he's known for creating the traffic light in 1916. So, you know, there are there are brilliant black people throughout history that have been innovative but don't nearly get the recognition that they should. And the things that I feel we get a lot of recognition for is a fight that we really shouldn't even have to fight as people, And then now we're in a space where I feel like we've gone backwards and we have to fight that amongst ourselves. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I just feel like we're in a really weird space in society. Um, and I just wish that people had the space to just be great, like, and that's not taking anything away from like what Martin Luther King has done. His work is tremendously important and we see the benefits of it today. But he shouldn't have had to had that fight, you know, because I often say like racism is childish. And it is. It's like you can't sit with us because your skin is like that, even though you didn't make a choice to be like that. But for that reason, you can't drink out the same fountain. Like how petty and childish. But there was a time in history that's not that long ago where it was legally okay to do that. I don't know, And then now I just feel like, okay, we throw in a little magic, but it's the same thing. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just really weird. It's like everything we've been fighting for as a people, we're like now in a space where we've justified doing it to ourselves. And, and I think of the vice president, Miss Bonnie, and I think of her situation, and I mean, I don't compare it to me because I know my situation is different, but I know what it feels like to be like harassed and bullied to a point where you don't feel like life is worth living and you're trying your best. And you're really just trying to take it one day at a time and for whatever reason. And even if she were to have done something like, I don't know, negative in her life, it doesn't justify that. Nothing justifies that. Nothing justifies that bullying and harassment and just to a point where somebody doesn't want to live. Like, we're all humans here. None of us is perfect. Everybody has their own fucked up way. Who the fuck is anybody on this planet have the right to determine how you treat somebody and get someone to a point where they don't want to be here? And it's like there's so many more important things to focus on, to do, to add in the world. And yeah, I just feel like we all need to be better.